Hey, everybody, welcome to The Warrior and the Wolf, a place for you to show up authentically and vulnerably in a safe atmosphere where you are seen, where you are loved, and someone wants to come beside you and walk with you. Let's get started.
Welcome back. Episode, what do we say, 26?
26. Yeah.
Of the Warrior and the Wolf podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll notice there's another face over here with us. Part of what we wanted to do in expanding the Warrior and the Wolf universe, as it were, was, have some people that are kind of walking in the same light that we have, that have started journeys and doing stuff. And we talked about getting people on here. So Sean, a good friend of mine, was graciously enough to volunteer to be our first guinea pig. So Sean, welcome. Thank you for joining us all the way from Illinois. Mark and Sean were just talking about what a small world it is, but
it's crazy
small world. So you guys have heard us talk about Sean before. We got some really awesome pins made.
Oh, yeah.
Sean was the one who made us those pins, and just a little bit of background. I'll shut up and let Sean talk. But I met Sean through another online platform called the Iron Council, run through a program, Order of Man. There's some podcasts from the Order of Man, and that's how I got introduced to this. Actually, our buddy D-Rock introduced me to the Iron Council, and that's how I got in and met Sean, and we became fast friends, and then I suckered him into going to one of our weekends. So welcome, Sean. Thanks for joining us. Tell everybody a little bit about you, why you decided to jump on here with us two yahoos.
Yeah, thank you. Like you said, I'm in Illinois, so just small little world here. Like you said, I met you through the Iron Council. So I've been doing that work for about 5 years now. So, and just once you came in and I heard about the Crucible, I kind of looked into it and everything, and just started listening to the podcast, listening to your podcast, your guys' podcast and everything. And then, like you said, I got suckered into it. So I sent you a picture, and I was like, hey, signed up. It's like, hopefully, let's see how this is going to go. So, and then I'll be honest, I almost didn't go because the one that I was supposed to go to got canceled because there wasn't enough people. Mm-hmm. So they're like, well, you can go to another one, you can get a full refund, or we can figure something else out. And so I was going to try to come to the one that you were going to staff in Colorado, but just logistics and stuff. So, but I ended up going to the one in up in St. Charles, near Chicago. So, and had a great time with that one. I say a great time now, but yeah. So.
No, Sean, it's a great time for everybody. Everybody listening.
It is a great time. It is a great time.
Say it that way, Sean. We talk about it all the time. Like, it is absolutely transformational work from my point of view, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And man, it's tough. Like, it's just tough work.
It's tough,
my brother-in-law,
especially, yeah.
I know my brother-in-law on his initial weekend, we were on our way up, and he's like, I brought my hammock and my sketchbook so I can put my hammock out in the woods and, draw. I was like, yeah, let me know how that goes out, works for you. I know Sean texted me after he got the instructions and the homework, and I'm not giving too much away, but he's like, is this really, like, what do I do with this? I was like, this dude is going to hate me or love me after this.
So Sean, I have to ask you, buddy, like, you said, I mean, of course you met Iron Council, and I understand all that, but like, so what intrigued you? Because I know that, like, the check-ins and things like that, you started listening to the podcast. What was it that resonated with you where you were like, I think I want to check this out?
Yeah, great question.
So, yeah, that is great. So I've done other like men's weekends and stuff, and I've gotten to a point in the where I'm at in the journey in the Iron Council that I've kind of I don't want to say plateaued, but kind of I'm at a point where I needed something else, needed something different, and just watching the YouTube videos of like promoting the weekends, listening to the actual podcast of like, okay, let's like the transformations that people have had is this amazing, and it's kind of like I want something different because like I went into the weekend like not knowing anything, which for me is extremely hard. So it's like I'd want to know kind of what I'm getting into versus like the way it came about. So which to Aaron's point is like, yeah, I was cursing him on the first night, and then yeah, but by the time I
And the
left, I
second
was
and the third.
and yeah, maybe the second a little bit, but yeah, it's like, but by the time I left, I was like, I was full of energy, and then getting home like after a 4 hour drive of decompressing this, like getting home and then having another like 2 hour conversation with the wife. So it's like okay, and then but yeah, I love the tagline, "The journey continues." Like Aaron knows, I use that all throughout the Iron Council now. Like that's like my tagline in the Iron Council, like because it so resonated with me that yeah, the journey is continuing. Like I think I got to a point in previous men's work that I kind of plateaued because like I was like, well, I'm in a good place. Like when I started that work, my life was, I don't want to say in shambles, but I had separated from the military. I'd lost my identity, and which I'd placed my identity in the wrong thing. But I lost my identity, lost the brotherhood, and then started the men's work in the Iron Council, which then over the years kind of led to now, like where I'm at now. And now I'm being able to use what I've kind of learned in the Crucible, and me and Aaron are trying to bring into the Iron Council and to the guys that we have. So, but yeah, like the weekend for me particular was I wrote down a lot of stuff. Like commitment's a big thing for me. I think I say it every time I'm on a call with Aaron though, is that um, walls. I love to build up walls. I love to keep other people out and protect myself. So, and, and I never contributed that to my childhood until the weekend. So, and like just figuring it out. So, because like I think Aaron knows because I've told it before, is my father was in the Marine Corps, and we towed the line, and it was his, like we were there to help support him for his career. He had an amazing career of 30, like almost 35 years. So like we moved. I moved every 3 years, which for me was, I don't want to get hurt, so I'm just going to build up walls and protect myself. And then yeah, so and then that's kind of led into my marriage too.
So, not to interrupt you, Sean, but I think that's a great point because it's something Mark and I talk about a lot. And I know, I'm guessing this question is in Mark's head or the top of his head, but like putting up those walls and building up those walls, like how did those serve you throughout your life, like in your childhood, in your marriage, and even in the military?
So serving me, they served to quote unquote protect me. Um, but what they actually did is they've hindered me, and they've hurt me. So because like I'm gonna go, because it's been on for me this last couple of weeks with my wife, is it has been a harm to me and my wife. So it comes like it gets to a point where we get to a point where it explodes, and because she wants to change, she wants the betterment, she wants to change in our relationship. Like, we've been married now a little over 18 years, and this has been going like so, and I've had these walls up, and I haven't let her in, and I'm realizing it, and I'm telling her this, but it's hard to then kind of it's hard for me to break the walls down and actually let her in. So because it's like, and I told Erin before we started this, was yesterday we celebrated her birthday, because her birthday was last week, but we celebrated her birthday yesterday, and we had multiple drives due to circumstances, but we had multiple like long drives yesterday, and we had amazing conversations about this, about breaking the walls down, about things that I'm harboring from past hurts, after the military, and past resentments and everything, and how how I can let go, and how I need to let go of the things, and how I'm using what the world is telling us men that we need to be. Like, we need to be the protector. We need to provide. Like, it is our thing to provide, and above our relationships with our spouses and everything, like, we need to provide what they need. And my wife's like, what I need is the relationship with you. So yeah, and I've told her before, it's like, I could care less like what job I have, how much money I make, but really I want to be in a relationship with you. But then I turn around and I don't actually exhibit that, and that's where some of the hurt comes in. So,
Sean, you said something a couple of times, and I wonder if you would be open to something. Number one, coming out of the military, transitioning out of the military, you said something. I put my trust in the wrong place, or my faith in the wrong place. I put
identity was where his identity.
place. The very first thing that I would say is, you didn't know any better, right? So
yeah.
I think that that's a huge point that has a tendency to slip by a lot of people, right? Like, had you not known there was an alternative, your identity was right where you thought it should be. And that's
and an identity in the military is a fantastic thing as well.
The two of you know.
Yes.
The two of you know. Yeah. I'm certainly not military. I don't want to speak to that, but I'm around enough military humans to understand that's a big deal. There's a badge of honor that comes with having served in the military for a lot of people. And so it's interesting. That was my identity. Right. But then you talk about your dad. Sean, you didn't know any better. Right. And now, as you start to break these walls down, your wife's like, all right, so let's do this. Just encourage you to offer her, hey, I'm a couple decades into this wound, right?
Yeah.
It's probably not going to happen week one. But I know for me, like, Jen has been just a tremendous source of accountability in that space, because I'm speaking my want effectively to her. Hey, I want to be, this is the man I believe I was called to be, and this is who I want to be. And I'm asking for you to come alongside me, right? And I know that for Jen, she's taken on ownership in that space. Like, she gets credit for this change that is happening, right? Because she's coming with me. So just encourage you. This is new. This is a lot. Yeah. Dude, our work is not for the faint of heart. And I love how you started the dialogue. Yeah, I was not going to go.
Yeah.
Yep.
He did. He tried to weasel out a few times, but to his credit, what's funny, Sean, is like, you and I had so you started like doing men's work through church and stuff like that, and you were you've been in the Iron Council for a long time as a leader too. And then I started in the Crucible side, and then I came over, and I was just looking for something kind of else to add to my repertoire, if you will. I know it's a fancy word, Mark, for me, but it's a word. I looked it up before we started, so it is a word.
You're good.
But no, so it's just interesting because and Sean, I love the stuff that the Iron Council is doing, but it's a lot to me. It's a lot different than what the kind of work that Crucible does and like the soul work and that kind of stuff. So I think you had a really good foundation going in. But what I found interesting, and maybe you could touch on this a little bit, was some of the bristling or pushback that you and I have got trying to bring some of this work into the Iron Council realm.
Yeah. Yes. So as you said, so we've implemented the check-in process on our team, but to a certain extent with some individuals, because I'm going to go back to kind of what I said before, is the man and the world, and what we know going through the Crucible is the world tells us as men to stuff our emotions, don't show emotions, but what we know is that emotions are God given, and emotions are there for a reason. But the world tells us as men, stuff them down, don't show them, and like put them in your backpack. It's the shadow. So, and it's for me going through that weekend, like I was like on Saturday, I was like, okay, like this needs to be implemented into our team. And when I left on Sunday and called Aaron and talked to him, and I told him we need to implement this. Like this is like just getting your emotions out there, and just in just simple ways, like using the sachet emotions, like simple ways of saying it without saying like what you guys said in season 1 of your podcast. Like there's no little anger, there's not a lot of anger, it's just anger. And it's like, okay, like I am angry this week. Like I could say right now, this past week I have been angry, I have been sad, I have been upset, I've been tender, like in it all I could probably go with all of them, but it's like I it's I have to show those emotions, but it's trying to actually figure out how to show those emotions in a way, and then modeling it for, like you said, kind of in the guys in the Iron Council, modeling it for the guys on our team, because like they are subscribing to the world tells us we need to be masculine, we need to, like, masculinity is toxic right now, we need to not have emotions because that's going to show that we're not good protectors or providers, that we're weak, but that's completely garbage to me. So, and I've learned that through the weekend. So, because like you said, you started in the Crucible, I started in the Iron Council. I've got to a point leading multiple teams now and leading teams that I needed something different. And I could tell that the guys that I was leading needed something different, something else. And starting, and I want to say starting the only 100% faith-based team inside the Iron Council was definitely a step in the right direction. Now trying to actually get guys to realize, hey, you have emotions. You can use these emotions, and then bringing in like the questions of the accountability questions and stuff too. So, which I say I proudly went through that on the weekend. But yeah, it's like bringing in those accountability questions, but then attacking the fact that some people have different views of accountability. So it's just, but yeah.
Some people didn't want to or think that that was an important part of what was going on. And just real quick, for people, and I don't think I'm giving away too much about either our weekend or our council, but part of it is having, something called a battle plan and, a quarterly battle plan of things you want to do in certain quadrants. And that's part of what the Iron Council does is we talk about this battle plan. So what Sean and I talked about is like we get together every week, right? A bunch of guys get together on a call similar to this, on a Zoom meeting, and we go through a tracker of like all the stuff we wanted to commit to. But it was just, which was great, but at the time it was just like, cool, I didn't get this done, I didn't get this done, I didn't get this done, but I did do all this. And Sean and I were talking, it's like, let's find out why. Like we're supposed to be doing life, we're supposed to be leading. Yeah. So let's dig into the why. Let's dig into the why of you didn't get this stuff done. And Mark, like you and I have talked about, and I think Sean, you've listened to some of the episodes, but like the who's at your table or, being accountable, like it was met with some resistance because, as we said, that shit's not fun.
But one thing that's super important to me is, as the two of you talk about that, and Iron Council is fantastic, I'm sure. Like our work, this work is not for everyone. Make no mistake. No. This work in the Crucible Project is not for everyone. In the same way that the work in the Iron Council is not for everyone. I think it's important, and Aaron, we've said this before on previous episodes, but the reality of it is go out and find what works for you. Sean was intrigued by what you had to say. He's like, that guy has something that I want to check out. Well, then by all means, check it out. It just so happens that the Crucible Project is what's working for Sean. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier. If your identity is tied up in this, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that there's something wrong with that, right? That's fine. If that's what you know, then that's okay. If you feel like there's something tugging at you saying, hey, there's more, you should check this out. I believe that men should step into their power and start to look at that. I look at Wild at Heart, right? And I think that those men are fantastic. I think that program is out of this world. It's good stuff. Where it has stopped short for me and why the Crucible Project touches me is this work for me is experiential. This is an experience. For the same reason, like Sean's saying, I like to know everything that's going to happen in my world before I commit to anything. Well, that's not at all how these initial weekends work, right? Because every single man is going to have a dramatically different experience. We want men to have their own experience, men and women, because women can be part of this work as well. It's important that you have the experience you were meant to have. Now, that to me, I'm sure the Iron Council is fine. That's okay. But you're bringing up some pretty substantial differences in that, that warrior energy, right? In the Iron Council. I mean, just the name alone, Iron Council, right? Like it implies that. And again, former military, you men, I mean, you get it, right? The warrior energy is very, very high. And Sean, I love the fact that you said, well, this week I've been this and I've been angry and I've been sad and I've been tender. Man, in any given moment, one of my favorite takeaways from this work when we talk about sachet emotions, and again, for anybody listening or watching, sad, angry, scared, happy, excited, tender, that's sachet. That's the acronym, right? So I had no idea I could be all 6 of those at any given time, at the exact same time, right? And like you said, not right, not wrong, not good, not bad. They just are.
Yeah.
And that was pivotal for me because anger was the masculine emotion, right? Oftentimes for me, masking the fear or the sadness. I can't be scared. I can't be sad. Men don't cry, suck it up, don't be a pussy, all that good stuff, right? I heard it a ton. But to realize I could be sad, angry, scared, happy, excited, and tender all at the same time. And that was okay. Dude, for me, that was a game changer. I love that about our weekends.
Yeah, no, I'll piggyback off that. Like, yeah, that was for me when I learned that, going through that weekend and learning that was great. And not to I don't give away anything from the weekend because I try to get guys that I know personally in my life here to try to go to them is like you go the difference that between like work with like Wild at Heart, because yeah, they're amazing. Like I considered going to one of their weekends too, but that and versus like the Crucible is that like what now that I know going to the Crucible weekend is that you will go to dark places and you will get out of it what you put into it. And if I had known what was going to happen, I would have put up walls around myself and not done anything. But the beauty of not knowing what was coming was the amazing part of the how I got through the weekend and learned what I did and gained the knowledge and went to the dark places that I did. So, because like I said, I shut that stuff off from childhood. Like I'd blocked that out, and I contributed a lot of my walls to and commitment to like just other things. But going to those dark places and during the experiences in the weekend was amazing. So even if I was
Big truth,
first,
big grace.
yeah, yes, that I love that, and that big truth, big grace, and the journey continues, and so it's just I'm looking forward to
All the
just
catchphrases.
yes, all the catchphrases. Like yeah, I'm just looking forward to like what comes about, like my continued journey, and then also getting in there like up to St. Charles and actually staffing, and hopefully out to Colorado with you guys and staffing too. So
yeah. So I have a couple questions. I'm gonna kind of put you on the spot, Sean.
okay.
So what was your wife's reaction to how you changed when you came back?
So trying to think about it is because it's been a couple of months now. She was excited, and she could see the joy in myself. So something that I try to hide is like I I have dimples that come out like whenever I get like super happy or excited and stuff. And the night that Sunday night, she at one point during the conversation, she's like, "Your dimples are back, and I haven't seen them in so long." So she knew that like what I had gone through was incredible. So but yeah, like but I think just now it's just an affirmation of her just telling me, "Hey, like I see you're struggling." And just being there and being in my corner and like because she knows like I don't have to say anything, she could see the look on my face, and so and she just says she just starts with the pointed questions of like, hey, what's going on, like, and so and she wants the conversations. It's me that needs to continue the conversations, but yeah, so but she thought, I guess from her perspective is, yeah, she saw the joy come back in my life.
You know,
That's
it's
awesome,
interesting to me. I'm so glad that you got that kind of response from your wife like that. Brother, I'll tell you what, Sean, I went probably 3 years because again, I just kept my head down. I started doing the work. I wanted, like, it was about me, right? I'm not bringing anybody else with me. All I can do is me, right? So that I set about. And I will never forget when it clicked with me. Like Jen Flat, it was. There's a lot of humor that goes into it. I don't want to give it all away, but man, it was so great because she noticed the change. I didn't ask, I didn't push, I didn't prod, none of that. But she was like, "We totally different man," and we're talking years into this, and I'm like, man, I hope she notices something. And then one day
Yeah.
she just said it. So I'm glad that your wife is seeing that change in you that quickly. That's fantastic.
What is the line, Mark, on the weekend, Sean? When they say like you're going to go home or go down the mountain, you're going to be like, because our wives are obviously a lot smarter than us. Because I way outkicked my coverage when I married up. So, what's the line? It's like, here's a bunch of stuff that I learned about myself this weekend that you probably already knew and were aware of.
Yeah.
You knew
So
all
it
this.
sounds like that to me, Sean, which is awesome. Like the fact that your wife is like, because to me, it sounds like you wanted to break down those walls, and it sounds like the fact that she can approach you and ask you those questions, that some of those walls have either come down or are starting to really to break down, which is huge. Because I think the impact that's going to have on your family, especially raising daughters, which Mark and I are both boy dads, so Godspeed to you, man.
yeah.
You talk about the journey continues, and Mark and I have alluded to it so many times on this. Like, this last year, I've still been doing really hard, really difficult work. So it's from a guy who's fresh into a couple months off of starting this to two guys that are 5 years into this. We're all still working.
And I don't think that'll ever change.
I don't think it will either.
No.
I think the difference now is we have you have the framework to do the work within. So I guess my question, Sean, and I think you've already kind of said it, but as we're kind of starting to wrap things up, like you talked about going to the dark places, you talked about doing the hard work. So far, would you say that it's worth it, and that other men or women, but talking particularly to men right now, need to step into something like this, some kind of work? And if they've been hesitant, like what would you tell somebody who's on the fence about kind of this stuff?
Oh yeah, no, I would wholeheartedly say yes. You need to look into this. What I would say to people, and kind of what I have said to people, is like, it is life changing. What you learn from it, and what you realize, is a lot of the stuff that you have and what you're going through goes back farther than what you even think. So kind of like what I alluded to. It's like, but it's like, I need to just tell the guys like, hey, or the women, but like I push for the guys to go, is like, go and just experience it, open up, and just the one-on-one time that I had with God, and during that, was incredible for me. And just like kind of the things that I wrote down in my journal during, like, just during quiet times, and kind of being like, I have lost that with him. And that was another reason kind of why I wanted to go. And just, but it's like, you're going to, and it's with anything, I say, but you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So like, if you go in, I went in with an open mind, maybe not on Friday, but I went in with an open mind and was just like, okay, like what's this all about? Like, and then by the time Saturday night rolled around, like, I was writing a letter to my wife, just laying everything out, and just the the fact that I have not lived up to the commitment that I should have with her for our 18 years of marriage. I haven't lived up to the commitments as a father, because like you said, I've my identity through the military and stuff was my identity was born from my dad being in the military. Like, I kind of I've gone the generational curse of, I've kind of tagged on to what he did, and I kind of followed that through my time in the military. Like, the military came first, and the time my work came first, and then it was family. And but kind of realizing through the weekend is like, yeah, no, that's like I placed that came from years of kind of learning that from the side to now where I'm at with I go to work, I leave work at work. I don't care. I come home and I focus on time with the family. Well, I want to say I come home, I go to bed. So, but my mornings are focused with the family and the kids and everything.
So, Sean, just for me, appreciate your willingness to share today. Thank you. And appreciate the courage it took to go to that weekend when it's far safer, I'm sure, for just, I'm not going to go. I'll think of some reason, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if you'd be willing to share with everybody listening or who's watching right now, what is true of you?
Knew that was coming.
So what's true of me is something I got out of the weekend was I am worthy, and I am a man of integrity. So and that stems back to the voices that I hear, like that I'm not worthy, which I think a lot of men struggle with. But for me, my key thing is I am worthy, and I am a man of integrity. So
love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And as Sean, I can tell you, we kind of wrap up. We always do what we call our parting shots. But man, we've been doing the Iron Council thing for, gosh, I don't know. How many months have I been in there? And somehow got elevated to second in charge. But I've noticed a difference in you and your leadership and the way you lead men and the way you carry yourself and talk about yourself and the way you and I have conversations. So, Mark said at the beginning of this, like this shit works. It really does. And it's not easy. Like you said, there's dark places, but man, once you punch that big hairy monster in the face, it gets a lot easier to punch him in the face next time. Yeah. And then when you have men in your corner, it's a lot easier to fight those monsters. So that's my parting shot, man. Proud of you. Proud to call you a friend. Proud to be on another team with you. So I don't know if Mark, you got anything else, and then we'll give Sean the last word.
Have something else.
I
Man,
know you
me.
do. I know. I
Freaking
don't know why I
always.
asked.
So, Sean, my introduction to you, of course, was the wonderful note and the pen that you gave Aaron and I, and based on your response to the podcast, and we really, really appreciate it. And I simply want to affirm you. I genuinely believe that showing up is the toughest part of any weekend. I believe that showing up is the toughest part of any weekend. So just by showing up, I think that says a lot about you. And I'm really, really stoked that you have such clarity on what's true of you. You are worthy. You are a man of integrity. And I love the fact the generational curse stops with you. You are changing people's lives because of who you are working to be. And dude, that's exciting. I love everything about it. And I'm so glad you were able to join us today. Thank you.
Absolutely. Sean, I'll give you a last word before we do our little sign off. If there's anything else you want to add? Or...
All right. No, I just thank you guys for having me and just what you guys are doing and just the friendship that I think that I've gotten with you, Aaron, and just listening to you both go through all these episodes and your stories and then just everything. I think I told you after, was it 3 podcasts ago now, the one prior to the table, like the negative voices were striking very hard, and then I listened to that episode and I was just like, holy crap. And then I listened to the table episode, and I sent Aaron a message, and I was like, Aaron, you are one of the guys at my table. So, and I was like, and it's hard because it's trying to think about who's at my table. I really can't think about too many men that are at my table. So, which is hard to say, but it's something that I'm working on changing. And I know that just through the process of this work, it's going to drastically change me and my family. And yes, like I hope to continue to break the generational curse.
Awesome. Love it, man. Sean, thank you so much for joining us. Again, if you guys want to reach out or want to know more about kind of the work that Sean did on the Crucible Weekend, again, as Mark says, we're on those sweet social medias. I can't say it like you. I just can't. Facebook, Instagram, The Warrior and the Wolf podcast. We got thewarriorandthewolf.com, thewarriorandthewolf@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you if you like what you hear. And, now we're on YouTube again, as the youngsters say, smash that subscribe button so anytime we put something out. We have awesome people like Sean on here.
We talked about the work a lot tonight. If you want to check out the work that we're talking about, thecrucibleproject.org is where you can head over, and the research that Sean did, all those resources are there. And if you have questions, again, any of the platforms that Aaron just mentioned, please do. And again, as we often ask, if there's something that you would like to contribute, please comment. Even if it's on the podcast side, the Spotify side, all of that stuff, YouTube is fine. And if there's a subject that you would like us to tackle, again, we are absolutely willing to go anywhere with our topics of conversation. So please comment. And if there's someone you feel can benefit from this work, we'd love to chat with them.
Absolutely. And I'm going to real quick touch on that, Mark. You talked about the work, thecrucibleproject.org. As Sean alluded to, Mark and I are in Colorado, and that's kind of where our foundation is for staffing. But there is literally Crucible weekends all over the world. Africa, in Kenya, Africa, in Australia, in Mexico. So if location is a problem, that's just an excuse. You know what they say about excuses, right? All right, guys. Love you both. Love doing this. Love everybody listening, and we will catch you next time. Thanks, Sean, for joining us.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
Thank you.